Hello, I'm Josh Grenzsund, and I'd like to thank you for sharing a few minutes with me to consider if I may be a good fit for your organization. So who am I? Simply put, I'm a Montanan. And here's 3 examples of how growing up in Montana shaped me. First, I focus less on what happened and more on what happens next. In Montana, kids in the 80s and 90s had a lot of freedom to roam. This is the town I grew up in, Boulder, Montana. And I learned that I could be lost, hurt, out of gas, with a flat tire, up in the mountains, or all those things all at once. But none of those facts would help me out. Here's us up on the mountain right before we got lost in this whiteout coming down the mountain. What does help me out in those situations is to think about what should happen next. Second, I know that my frame of mind plays a huge part in the outcomes I see. There's a direct link between optimism and success. Many people will never try something because they believe it is too hard or too scary. I choose to be positive and see the path to the outcome I want. And optimism doesn't mean easy. It's just a vehicle to put energy in and to go somewhere. Third, I'm a risk taker. Always curious and open to the unknown. My openness to risk has taken me from a small town up in the mountains to college, to the military, to grad school, and to a career in business. Along the way, I've earned leadership abilities, 3 languages, and a deep connection to my community. Lastly, I've learned to always keep learning. For me, it's the other 3 things rolled up in one and put into action. Learning is focused on what happens next. It invites a person to have a view of positive possibilities. And it's an investment of limited resources of time and energy that can feel risky, because it is. But it's worthwhile to do something with that energy and time. So as a Montanan, I'm an optimist, a problem solver, a risk taker, and a lifelong learner. My work and volunteer experience could be summed up as being drawn to purpose-driven teams. The Hoofers was a team I was in high school, the cross-country team in the 90s, and our goal was to win state. And how we did that was we had more fun together as a team in training than anyone else. We placed, in my 4 years, 1 third place and 3 first place finishes at state. When I left for college and in 1995, I joined the Skoidach as a horn player. The flyer responded to ask for people who were going to go for the gold. That was the goal. And how we did it is we had energetic music and stage presence. And as a result, we toured the country and we got a deal with Moon Records. In 1997, I joined the U.S. Army. And my personal goal was to pay for school. But what happened was I learned all about team building and the impact and effect of core values. In 2002, I was the class leader for the first ever Uzbek language class in the Army, getting as part of Operation Enduring Freedom. The goal was to build an Uzbek language program and support the fight in Afghanistan. And how we did that was I was a student also and had a year of language immersion. As a result, I got 6 out of the 7 people in the class, including myself, to graduation. After that, I was deployed with my unit, the 341st MI. Our goal was human intelligence operations to fight and win in Afghanistan and uphold the Geneva Conventions, which was a very important part of our job. How we did that was holding our core values and holding each other accountable. I led the team to cut our net case processing time in half during the same period that our case volume grew by 600%. And I did that by being present with the team, by helping them feel optimistic, and problem solving the inefficiencies out of our program. In 2008, I joined OBEC Consulting Engineers, and that's where I currently work. The goal was to build a business development and marketing culture at a 40-year-old civil engineering firm. How I did that is I demonstrated the cash value of deliberate rather than reactive decisions. It can feel like a risk to wait for the right moment to move, strike, or invest. And it kind of is. But in business, it's a risk that leads to return on investment and growth. It also builds optimism by conditioning people for the expectation of success rather than belief that business is a question of luck and chance. In 2009, I joined the Eugene Mountain Rescue Team. Our goal as a team is to find people who are lost and injured in remote terrain. And I was drawn to that because I wanted to be part of a skilled volunteer team that goes out and helps people when they need it most. So recently I've taken several assessments to establish even more personal insight. My global mindset indicates that I'm adaptable, flexible, and optimistic. I'm an effective delegator who can assess, leverage, and build the strengths of others. My conceptualization and contextualization assessment shows that I can hold core values in ambiguous situations, and I have a particularly high tolerance for ambiguity. All ambiguity exists within a larger environment, and I analyze that larger environment for warnings and indicators to inform decisions and minimize risk. My highly innovative attitude helps me succeed with what I have at hand instead of wishing for something more or something different. In the Myers-Briggs assessment, I'm summed up as INFJ, introverted, intuitive, feeling, and judging. This means I'm idealistic, sensitive to the needs of others, creative, reserved, and focused on the future. What I recognize from all this is my top 4 strengths: grit, passion, organization, and compassion. I also recognize that taking my strengths too far can pose a challenge. Grit can become stubbornness, passion can become emotional decision-making, organization can become inflexibility, and compassion can become favoritism. I keep each of those things in mind, and I watch for when I could be taking my strengths too far, and I learn from that. So if you decide to invite me into your organization, what will you get? You'll get an employee who is an optimist, a problem solver, a risk taker, and a lifelong learner. You'll get a manager who practices mission first, people always. My team and I will get the job done, and the way I do that is to make sure that they're always taken care of, feeling safe, healthy, happy, respected, and as much as reasonably possible, having fun with what they're doing. I sum up my leadership style in 3 points. First, I'll never ask you to do something I won't do myself. Second, we need each other to get through this. And third, follow me. I will set the example. And what organizational culture is best for me? My preference is for a fairly rigid organization with effective, involved leadership and a strong culture of collaboration towards a shared goal. I want a culture that, like me, invites risk-taking, but certainly isn't reckless. I want a culture that when people outside the organization say, it's impossible, that together we say, actually, I think we can figure out a way to make it work. So that's the person I am. Let me know if that's the person you need. Thanks.